I want to talk about Ezra Miller today. Ezra Miller and The Flash. Barry Allen, the fastest man alive. DC's dark horse. The Flash movie comes out in June 16th, 4 days before my birthday. And it's interesting because Ezra Miller, who plays The Flash, has been such a total basket case, especially over the last year. But really for the last couple of years, there have been increasingly off-the-wall reports of Miller's behavior. Now, Miller identifies as non-binary and goes by the pronouns they, them. I will try my best to remember that during this video. But I don't always remember people's pronouns, and sometimes I just say the wrong thing. No offense intended. So there's this report out of Variety where it's mainly focused on The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and how he pushed really hard to gain sort of creative control of the DC cinematic universe and sort of push this new phase that would have been Black Adam versus Superman. And he worked really hard to get Henry Cavill back as Superman, and Cavill made that brief cameo at the sort of hidden scene at the end of Black Adam. And going by the report, it sounds like The Rock was kind of arrogant. And he's a superstar, and I'm sure that just sort of comes with the territory, right? Wealthy, powerful, beloved actor with lots of money and influence. He seems to have ruffled some feathers, and I think if Black Adam had been successful, we may be having a different conversation right now. But Black Adam was a flop. It didn't even cross $400 million at the global box office, and it cost a couple $100 million to make. So, I mean, it wasn't like a money loser, but it was certainly not a money maker. There was a lot of money spent on reshoots, and ultimately it just didn't do that great either, critically or financially. It was not the kind of movie where you're like, oh yeah, we're going to build our next phase of movies off of this movie. Which, soon after, James Gunn and Peter Safran were given the reins of the DC cinematic universe, television, animation, all of that. They've become the new bosses of DC's cinematic future. And that means there's not really a future for The Rock. And unfortunately, there's not a future for Henry Cavill as Superman. And it looks like Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is out. A lot of change, a lot of shakeup is happening. And that's part of a larger shakeup within Warner Brothers. During the Warner Brothers Discovery merger, they've been canceling shows at HBO. They decided not to release the fully completed movie Batgirl and take a write-down instead. Apparently it was pretty bad, so I get that. But obviously some choices are going to piss people off. Like, a lot of people are unhappy about Cavill getting the boot. Others make so much sense. You kind of just got to say, okay, I get it. You have to. This is a company. They have to make money. You can't be just losing money. And really, honestly, in this race to streaming, a lot of these companies have been losing money. Disney's lost money, and Disney Plus. Warner Brothers has lost money on HBO Max. A lot of these companies are losing money, and so this is the price that is paid is cancellations. And I had to do another video on Netflix cancellations, but that's it for Warner Brothers. There's been a lot of upheaval. There's been a lot of change. But in this report, there is a paragraph, and here's what it says. As for what else Gunn and Safran have planned for DC's future, sources describe it as a broad but not blanket reset. At this point, nothing is ruled out. Given that Miller has stayed out of trouble since beginning mental health treatment in the summer, some executives are amenable to continuing with the actor as the world-saving speedster after The Flash bows on June 16th. So now we are confronted with a potential reality, I should say, wherein Henry Cavill is out as Superman, but Ezra Miller remains as The Flash, which is crazy. For one thing, you don't really have an iconic Barry Allen that you need to cast, right? They don't need to be super strong or chiseled. They don't need to have that look that we associate with Superman and Clark Kent, right? Cavill's got the look. He's perfect as Superman, right? He's super iconic. He's just right for the role. Whereas, like, you could pick any number of people to play the Flash, and people wouldn't care. No one is. I mean, I shouldn't say no one, but most people are not as attached to that character's look outside of the costume. He wears a mask. Superman does not. So on and so forth. But really, Miller has just been in so much shit. So I'm going to go through a few of the things that Ezra Miller has done or allegedly done. And Miller is currently facing criminal charges and is in mental health treatment. I'm sure the criminal charges will all be waived, and they will have to, see, I did it. They'll just have to do some like counseling and maybe rehab or something. I don't know. That's just speculation. But okay, in April of 2020, Ezra Miller choked a woman at a bar after a joking session went bad, and he attacked this woman. Video was leaked online of the incident showing him choking a woman. Cool. In January of 2022, so 1 year ago, they made, God, I'm going to keep doing this. It's just hard for my brain. They made a video threatening the KKK. They said, look, if y'all want to die, I suggest just killing yourselves with your own guns, okay? Otherwise, keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, and you know what I'm talking about. Then we'll do it for you if that's really what you want. Talk to you soon. Okay, bye. Now, of course, screw the KKK, right? Like, if they kill themselves with their own guns, okay, fine, I don't care. But making a video threatening to kill people, even if it's the KKK, is just super bizarre. Like, who does that and posts it publicly? And why to this particular chapter of North Carolina? I mean, what we see from Miller is that they globetrot this craziness all around. We go from Iceland to North Carolina, and then in March of 2022, Hilo, Hawaii. Where at a bar, people were singing karaoke, and according to the police, Miller began yelling obscenities and at one point grabbed the microphone from a 23-year-old woman singing karaoke and later lunged at a 32-year-old man playing darts. The bar owner asked Miller to calm down several times, and then the cops came, and they ended up being fined for $500. That same month, a couple in Hilo filed a restraining order alleging that Miller had burst into their room, said, I will bury you and your slut wife, and then ran off with various personal possessions like Social Security card and a wallet. The couple later asked the judge to dismiss this order, but it is an interesting story. In April of 2022, not that long after, Miller was arrested because he was alleged to have been in a conflict with a 26-year-old woman who asked Miller to leave, and he became enraged and threw a chair at her, cutting her forehead, leaving a half-inch cut on her forehead. So he's choked a woman, he's thrown a chair at a woman, he's burst into a room and said that they will bury the man and his slut wife. Grabbed a microphone from a young woman at karaoke. In June of 2022, a couple from the Standing Rock Sioux Indian tribe accused Miller of grooming their daughter from the age of 12 and displaying cult-like and psychologically manipulative, controlling behavior. The daughter has since said that her parents are the ones who are manipulative, although I think they also identify as non-binary, so they have accused their parents of being manipulative and taken Miller's side. But we start to see a pattern here. In the same month, in Greenfield, Massachusetts, a mother filed a harassment prevention order against Miller, who apparently started acting really bizarre around her and her, at the time, 11-year-old child. It's cold. Who's now 12, but the child identifies as non-binary also, and somehow Miller became acquainted with this child. And if you read the child's statements, like, they got very scared of Miller, and Miller was like yelling at the mom, and it just sounds crazy. That was granted, and after that happened, Miller deactivated their Instagram account. In August of 2022, Miller was accused and arrested for burglary. Apparently, he broke into a house in Vermont and stole several bottles of alcohol. They are currently. Oh my god, I'm bad at that. They are currently facing charges still for that, and have pled not guilty. And then finally, this same time frame, police tried to serve an order to check on the safety of 3 children who were living with their mother on Miller's Vermont farm, and the father, who's from Hawaii, hadn't seen them and was concerned, and the police showed up, and Miller said they'd been gone for a long time, but it's unclear if that's true. Video had come out showing this farm where this family was living with Miller, and in the living room around like the stuffed animals and whatnot, there was assault rifles and pistols and various other deadly weapons. And so clearly just a very strange situation. And again, this pattern of like weird culty stuff, like how are all these people attached to Miller? You know, this Native American, this young Native American woman who apparently has been groomed since the age of 12. This young 25-year-old mother of 3 who's come from Hawaii to Vermont. And then all these assaults on women. I mean, the pattern, like, you look for patterns, right? When somebody is just accused of doing something with no previous accusations, no previous behavior, no one, then you say, okay, wait a minute, this is just one thing. We need to really look into this. We can't just assume that this person is guilty. But when someone has, over the course of really 1 year, not counting the 2020 assault in Iceland, but in 1 year been arrested for, burglary, had multiple restraining orders placed on them. There's a lot going on in Ezra Miller's brain. Miller has said that they have complex mental health issues and they have sought help. Okay, which is great. We want people to seek help for their complex mental health issues. But should Miller continue in the role of the Flash? Now, this gets into a territory of like the cancel culture stuff, right? We don't want to just cancel people because they have views we disagree with. We don't want to cancel people because of wrongthink. We don't want to cancel people because they made a mistake or said something that now, years later, we think is problematic, right? You said something 10, 20 years ago. Now we consider that problematic. You don't get canceled for that. You happen to be a Republican in Hollywood. You don't get canceled for that. Even, maybe you go through a dark time of your life and you say something and someone records it and it's bad. I don't know. If you apologize and you try to do better, then I don't think you get canceled. I have a very complicated relationship with someone like Mel Gibson as a fan of Mel Gibson's, because I think he's said and done some horrible things. But to my knowledge, he's never actually choked a woman or, groomed a 12-year-old or any of that stuff. Like, he's said some really awful, racist and just mean-spirited things. And But people have roundly canceled Mel Gibson as much as you can cancel someone as wealthy and famous as him. Whereas Miller seems to remain not totally persona non grata. I mean, if executives at Warner Brothers are still considering using Miller as the Flash in future movies, then apparently you can get away with a whole lot. And I don't really understand why. I don't want to chalk it up to, the gender identity stuff, because that hasn't always shielded people. I just don't quite understand it. But I honestly say, if they keep Miller but get rid of Cavill, and maybe get rid of several other of these established superhero celebrities, right? Then that's pretty bizarre and a pretty bad sign for the future of the DC film slate. I just don't think it's acceptable. I mean, because this all happened last year. I mean, these incidents were up through August. And they weren't just, isolated incidents. This is like a pattern of abusive and extremely unhinged behavior. And I don't know, I feel like it at least takes quite a while to get past something like that. And it's the kind of thing you should kind of lose your job if you're doing this stuff, right? Like, you shouldn't be rewarded for this kind of behavior. And mental health is not an excuse. Mental health is not an excuse for crappy behavior. Yeah, you get a little leniency for some stuff because if you've got some really serious mental health issues, you're not going to be acting normal. And yes, if you get help, that's a great start, but you don't get a free pass just because you've got mental health issues. Most of us have mental health issues. I don't ask for a free pass for not making videos for 2 or 3 weeks because I was too depressed or, just shitty. So, anyways, that's kind of my take, I guess. Just Miller is toxic. They are. I hope they get help and the help they need, but I just don't see a future in DC for Miller. I don't know. I still think it would be fine to bring Grant Gustin in. I think he could do it. Just a great job. A lot of people already associate him with the Flash, or just recast Barry Allen entirely. I mean, there's lots of people that could play this character. Find somebody else. Find somebody younger. Find somebody, a newcomer. Find a newcomer with some really awesome acting chops who's fit and can, pull off the whole running really fast thing without special effects. Find somebody who can run as fast as the Flash without special effects. No CGI, only practical. I'm just kidding. All right, thanks for watching, and let me know what you think in the comments below. And please like and subscribe and all that jazz. Peace.